How's it going, boys and girls? And welcome to Isles Talk video style. I am with the founding fathers of Isles Talk.
I should have had my George Washington wig for this.
Founding fathers. Wow. Wow. Jeez. Now I feel old. Thanks.
There you go. Folks, this is one of those situations where if I don't invite them first to my first video show, they're just going to shut me down.
No, we never do
John
that.
wouldn't shut me down. Gary would.
No, I have control of the GoDaddy account, so yes, I can.
Yes, he can. So, Gary and John, how are you guys?
All right.
Good.
All right.
It's so nice after 140 days to really start talking about hockey for real. It's a pleasure.
John, how you been? Been busy?
Good. Just trying to stay busy, just trying to keep making some money at least,
Good. So, all right, well, let's get into it, Gary. Segue right there. 140 days since hockey, and how many games have you seen so far?
Well, I didn't get to see our game live because I was at my brother-in-law's house out east, so I actually got to see part of MSG Go coverage and then listen to the third period in the car, but I ended up watching it this morning. I probably watched the only game I didn't really see was the late games yesterday. So, I've seen enough.
What do you think of it?
It's exactly where I expected it would be. It's not it's not polished. It's definitely not polished, but it's great. It's just absolutely great. And hey, the Islanders are 1-0 lifetime in the month of July, so you can't beat that.
That's right. It's true. I never thought of that.
And I was just going to say now, what do you think of the Islanders? Did you
The game,
from what you were able to see?
No, I actually watched the whole game this morning.
Okay.
No, I was pretty pleased with their performance. I'm not surprised on the power play, despite all the people screaming on Facebook and everywhere. It seems like most of the team's power plays have been struggling. I mean, Montreal gave up 2 shorties against Pittsburgh. I was watching Nationals. They did score one, but they looked really inept. A lot of, again, it's going to be rust, and it's just such a unique situation that you're going from basically a modified training camp and you're not starting the season, you're starting the playoffs. So it's a whole different puppy, and I'm really interested to see how some of these teams are going to respond, to this new situation.
Now, John, you have a very unique situation, life situation, shall we say. You actually have to hear the game.
That's correct. Yes.
And I have to ask, has anything changed
As
from
far
hearing the games?
just like what Gary said, it's like preseason, really. I mean, you have 4 months off, and now you're having these teams start playoffs. So I really, the teams that get ousted quickly, it's how fair is it really? You know what I mean? It just sounds like we're playing games in September. You know what I mean? That's
Now I got to ask you, John, you hear the game. Is it different for you because you're not hearing the crowd, or are you completely tuned into?
I just
Chris
tuned
King?
into the play-by-play.
Okay.
I'm not really, not yet. It's going to be weird, like when the games, like when I'm able to actually sit in front of the television where like NBC and stuff, where you're used to hearing the crowds. That's going to be different.
Okay. So overall, what did you guys, Gary, I'll go back to you. What did you think of the Islanders' overall play?
Again, very pleased. I thought that Varlamov made an amazing statement in his play. Especially, I love his comment saying, "I haven't stacked pads like that in 15 years." I mean, that was a brilliant line. But I again, Bo said in the last question in his press conference after the game last night, it's Islander hockey, and that's exactly what they showed you. If you wouldn't know, this wasn't July 29th, it was February 10th or November 12th. It was the same type of play. Yes, you only got 2 goals, and that's going to be obviously a big concern for a lot of people when it comes down to matching against the Florida Panthers, who are a big offensive type team. But if and again, with the way Barry Trotz's structure is, the way their team is set up, if they play, the structure, the words, play your game. If they play their game, there's no doubt in my mind they can win. And they showed that in order to beat the Islanders, you're going to have to get them out of their comfort zone. And I don't think Barry Trotz is going to let that happen.
John?
Yeah, I think that's the big advantage that the Islanders do have is the coaching. And, Trotz's teams are prepared. And, the last 2 seasons that they started out playing well under Trotz, so I think if there's an advantage, quote unquote, that might be the case. But, I was definitely pleased by the outcome, not just because they won, but because I didn't, it wasn't like 7-6 or 8-6 or something like that in the end. 2-1 is what we're kind of used to as Islander fans.
Yep. So Gary, out of the games that you've seen so far, have you seen more than just the Islander games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I watched a good part of it.
Who intrigues you the most?
Who intrigues me the most? Well, again, I've been saying on the radio show and all along, I was looking for a scenario where somebody was going to really pull an upset. And to me, I kept saying on the show, you get a guy like Carey Price who's going to stand on his head. And watching him, I was a little disappointed. To me, he looks very rusty. And for that team to be able to beat a juggernaut like the Penguins, you've got to have him at not 100%, at 125%. So I was I'm a little disappointed on that. In the West, I usually follow the Stars and I follow the Predators. And I was just watching their game a little earlier. Nashville looks very comfortable right now. And again, Dallas is only not really playing for themselves. They know they're in to the next series. So it's more just a tune-up for them for the round robin tournament. But I like the way Nashville looked. They were struggling through a good part of the season. And actually, Claire and I will take credit because when we went down to see the Islanders play Nashville, they shut the Islanders out. And that's when I think they started to kick themselves in gear and started playing much better hockey. And I think what UC Saros taking over for Pekka Rinne has been a big difference. So to me, I think I would like to see Nashville do some damage.
John, you got a sleeper in there?
It's hard to tell yet. I mean, I didn't get to catch any of the other games, but as I said earlier, I'm sticking with my statement about this being a new season, so like if you're expecting team to just pick up where they left off from March, I don't think it's going to happen. I think anybody could win the whole thing. And I think it's just going to be who really comes out strongest at the gate. So I think anybody could be a sleeper. I think the Islanders could be a sleeper.
Well, again, just jumping on that, John, Barry Trotz has always been known to be a good starter, as we all had known for the 17-game point streak. So that could be another big key, for the Islanders if they come out and play the way that they did in an October type environment. The sky could be the limit.
Right, I agree.
All right, so let's get into that segue. First round. Florida Panthers, New York Islanders. Who do you got?
Well, I mean, I honestly think that we will win that series. But the only way they're going to win that series, to me, the most important thing for the Islanders to have is the upper hand on the special teams play. We saw in the games during the season, Florida was a tough penalty killing team, and the Islanders got 2 power play goals in one of their victories, and they're a strong power play team. So if you beat them in the odd man situations, that's where you've got to become a winner. So I'm going to say Isles in 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 5, just because of the fact that I think Florida's offensive power is still going to be a very potent test for this Islander team.
John?
I agree. Well, I would say Islanders in 5. I'm certainly not going to take Florida lightly. As I said, anybody can win this thing. And, that's just it. It's going to be specialty teams. It's going to be whose team is sharpest, who's got their guys the sharpest. And I think hopefully, I'm pretty I feel comfortable with saying the Islanders will come out and win that first round.
Yeah. So am I. I'm gonna agree with John. I don't trust Florida yet, despite that poor game against Tampa. I still think they're gonna give the Islanders some kind of trouble. I'm gonna go Islanders in 5.
You just want to be different from me anyway. I know.
Well, that too. That's true too. That's always true. So
That's okay. Bless you, Paul.
absolutely. So listen, gentlemen, I'm actually calling this first round the purgatory round. It's not necessarily the playoffs, but at the same time, they don't get a chance at the lottery. They're literally stuck right in the middle, and they have nowhere else to go. It's
but you got that 1 in 8 chance.
Oh, go ahead,
of getting Mr. Lafreniere in the draft, and so I would say it's purgatory light, if you will.
Possibility.
Yep.
How would you feel if we got that number 1 pick?
Well, I'm sure, as anybody knows, this kid's track record. He's one of those, once in a 7 or 8 year pick. You get comparisons to McDavid and others like him. He's got great hands. He's got great speed. Can dish the puck well. So obviously any team that's going to get him is going to be thrilled to have him.
Right. John?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it would, obviously in a way it would be nice, but, I'm not thinking along those lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. I'm more interested in just advancing and, seeing how far this team can really take it,
Good. Well, listen, you go on Sirius XM, the NHL channel. I've been listening to it now for a few weeks, and they try to get into all the fantasy players, and they're doing all their rankings. There is not one single Islander on any of their lists. Not one.
There never is.
No.
Okay. So, John, I'm going to start off with you this time. If you had to pick a fantasy player off the Islanders, who would it be?
I'm gonna go with I for some reason I think JG Pageau I think is going to be the dark horse. I think he could be the X factor for the Islanders. Based on his playoff track record with Ottawa and how he just rose to the occasion. I remember he destroyed the Rangers,
right,
single-handedly, virtually. He's the type of guy I think that I would take on my fantasy team for this tournament.
Gary?
I'm going to actually go on the defensive side. I'm going to go with Mr. Taves. I liked the way Devon played the last 10 games of the season. Again, very consistent. He's just a guy that just gets overlooked. And again, as well as all the Islanders are being overlooked. But I would like to see what he can do. I really think this is a way of maybe getting him to get on other people's radar, if you will. Sure. I think it's a great chance for him to shine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm actually going to go with Anthony Beauvillier.
He was actually my second pick. I was thinking between him and Pageau. I was just kind of going back and forth.
I would have picked Bo too, but I just didn't want to clash with Paul.
Well, believe it or not, I was thinking long and hard on this, and I didn't want to say his name because this was going to be a suck-up moment, but Josh Bailey is not far from being a fantasy player on my list here because he's going to be one of those savvy veterans where very much like that game-winning goal in the playoffs last year.
Well, now you just ticked off about 75% of our Islander viewing.
I'm sure. Yeah, but he's one of those savvy veterans that may come out of nowhere, pick up those garbage goals, or have that one pass to Barzal or Eberle or whoever, and you never know.
Well, I'll make sure my wife thanks you later.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yes. Hi, Claire. But and believe it or not, I want to pick Ryan Pulock at some point, but he's got to put the puck on the net. But
I do too. That was the difference that I see with Paul. I mean, obviously you can't not love the the 100+ mile an hour shot. You love what he brings to the table, but sometimes he's a little tentative in pulling that trigger.
Yep.
Taves to me has a little more dare to him. It's a little
Yep.
more like I'll jump in if I have to,
Right.
and he'll go straight to the net. I mean, that's what I like about him. It's not just from goal line to the offensive blue line. He goes 200 feet.
Yep. So I am going to go Anthony Beauvillier as my fantasy star. I like all of your picks, and for right now, I'm going to put you guys on the spot because it wouldn't be me if it wasn't. We're
No
going to do
kidding.
we're going to do a little fun here, little section called rapid fire. I'm going to give you the teams that are in the first round of these playoffs, and you're going to tell me the winner. I don't care how many games, you just tell me the winner. So, Canes and the Rangers, Gary,
Canes.
John.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
that's
go. I'm gonna go
and
with
now
Canes.
I'm just gonna say it's not because of I am pro Islander, anti Ranger. I just think that defensively, Carolina is just going to be too strong, despite Panarin and Zibanejad and all the offensive talent that the Rangers have. I just think in this kind of time, defense is gonna jump ahead, and that's why I'm rooting for Carolina. So I just want to make sure I cover my bases.
There you go. Don't lose any followers.
Yeah.
John,
Mhm.
who are you going with? Canes or Rangers?
I'm going with the Canes also.
All right, I'm going Canes as well. Montreal or Pittsburgh?
Well, I wanted Montreal, but judging by what I saw,
Yeah.
I just can't see it happening. I mean, in the back of my mind, I love it, but no, Pittsburgh's just too talented for Montreal to overcome.
John?
I agree.
Okay, so we got 3 pens on that one. I was very disappointed with Montreal as well. So, and I don't want to root for Pittsburgh. I really don't, but I don't have much of a choice.
We understand.
Yeah. Columbus or Toronto?
I'm going Columbus. And again, not for anti-Toronto bias. I just like the makeup, and getting Seth Jones back is a huge help to that team. And I just think they're gonna pull it off.
John?
I think so too. I just think having Torts as their coach is also a big factor in that too.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with Toronto.
Ooh,
I think Freddie Anderson's going to stand on his head. I think he's going to be the one to save them. And I think if their run and gun gets going like it did in the beginning of last year, I think Toronto can pull this one out.
I agree. To me, Anderson is the big F.
Yep.
I mean, if he stands on his head, there's no doubt in my mind that Toronto will win. But I'm hoping that they somehow solve them.
Over to the West, Jets and Flames.
Johnny, you want to take that one first? I'm
gonna say the Flames.
Really good for you, John.
I don't know. I just call it a gut feeling or whatever. I just don't think the Jets keep I don't know. They just don't have it. I don't know what it is.
Again, what I'll say about that, and again, I was listening to some of the Jet game on the radio on the way home last night. To me, the key is Hellebuck. Hellebuck had an amazing season, and when he is on, I don't think there's a better goaltender in the NHL. But there are days where he I'll use the term from Top Gun, screws the pooch, and when he screws the pooch, it's bad. There's no help. So to me, Hellebuck is key, but I'm going to go Winnipeg because of that.
Okay. I am going to go Winnipeg for the same reasons. Hellebuck is going to be the guy, and I honestly think you're going to see a breakout tournament from Nikolai Ehlers.
A guy that we almost should have got.
Yeah, we almost should have
gotten.
Yeah, almost should have gotten.
Nikolai Ehlers is going to have a really good series.
Okay.
So here comes my favorite one, Hawks and Oilers.
If you base everything on what Chicago did to St. Louis yesterday, you think that the Hawks are going to get their names written on the cup. But it's really hard to go against a McDavid-Draisaitl matchup. I mean, somebody said that they watched him skating during camp, and they think he's got another gear, and that's what's scary, absolute scary. And I just don't trust the combination of Crawford / Subban in net. So I'm going with Edmonton.
John.
Yeah, I'm going Edmonton too. I just don't think Chicago's. I think they don't have enough.
I am going Chicago. I was picking Chicago before that game, and they just reinforced it last night. I like
Wow.
what they're doing. Um, I like their defense. Brent Seabrook actually not playing will be helpful for the Hawks. Yeah, I want to see all their
Not a
younger
bad
kids go
idea.
in. I want to see all their younger kids shine on this one, and I want to see Alberta. Me personally, being the sadistic weirdo that I am, I want to see Alberta go up in riots and flames when pun intended there, when the Flames and Oilers both lose in the first round, and you get all of Western Canada going nuts.
So in other words, the second, third, and fourth round will be in Vancouver because they just blew up the Rogers.
Absolutely.
You heard
There
it
will
first
be
on
riots.
That's right.
There
I
will be
didn't say
riots
that.
in Alberta.
I didn't say any of that, folks. Just remember
No,
that.
there will be riots in Alberta. That's fine.
Yeah, at Pete Chrysler 39. Yeah.
Arizona, Nashville.
Again, my national bias is going to take me on this one. I mean, what a weird situation for Arizona that 2 days before they start playing, their GM just suddenly
Yeah,
leaves.
leaves. Yeah.
Strange situation. And you got Taylor Hall trying to basically buy himself another contract. But again, knowing how Nashville did the last couple of weeks before the pandemic hit, and the way I see them looking now, they're going to be, to me, they're the scariest team in the West. So that's where I'm leading.
Good. John?
Yeah, no, I think Nashville will win that one.
Yeah, I think
relatively easy.
Nashville is still a more complete team. And
Yes.
a team, even an older team like this one, they can still win a tournament like this, like John said. They've got the structure, they've got the players to do it. So we're all in agreement there with Nashville. And then finally, the Minnesota Wild and the Vancouver Canucks.
I'm leaning Vancouver, and I think that series in the West is the most I would say evenly matched. The key again, as in any playoff series, goaltending is key. If Jakob Markstrom does what he did in the second half of the season before the pandemic hit, he was stellar. Yep. And they've been waiting. Vancouver's been waiting for Markstrom to make that next step up for the last couple of years. So if he does what I think he will do, I think Vancouver will win very tightly.
Very good. John?
I'm going to be contrarian and say Wild.
Okay.
Like I said, that's the close. To me, that's
to me. I mean, it could go either way. I don't know. I don't know. I just think the Wild will come out.
Where the Islanders and Panthers were kind of the most evenly matched in the East, like I said, I think they were the most evenly matched in the West.
Right. Yep.
I am going to go Vancouver on this one. I just think Minnesota's too old and too slow to catch up with Vancouver.
That's true.
I think Vancouver over a 5-game series, I think they'll wear out Minnesota pretty quick. That's the hope. So, listen. There have been a lot of polls going out, a lot of opinion polls out on Twitter trying to predict who's going to win what series, who's going to be the next matchup. And it was very interesting because there's a lot of votes in all of them. So this is just hypothetical, and I want to get your gut feelings on this. Don't even tell me if you think they're going to win or not. Give me your gut feelings. A lot of people right now are predicting the Islanders play, drumroll, the Tampa Bay Lightning in the next round. So we're looking back at 2016. How many? Give me your gut feeling on that one, Gary.
Islanders, Tampa. During the season they played very well, but again, you can just take whatever they did during the season and drop it in the hat. Again, it's Vasilevsky. In last year's opening round was miserable. Again, it goes to almost every series. Goaltending is so key. Yep. In a series like that. And if Vasilevsky's on his game, they're going to be very difficult. Tampa's going to be very difficult to beat in any round, to be perfectly honest. But, I would say that, that series would go 7. I'm hard pressed to pick anybody, but
John?
But if they play Tampa, it's no doubt it's going to go to the wire.
Okay. John?
I think theoretically Tampa Bay would win that series, but again, going back to what we've all been saying, Tampa was not the best starting. They didn't start off the season playing well. And if the Islanders catch them before they really start to really fire on all cylinders and their goaltending is not great, I could see the Islanders sneaking that out. But, theoretically, Tampa is definitely, quote unquote, the better team as far as talent goes.
And I watched a good part of that Tampa Bay Florida game, and they were bouncing Florida around like a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the Florida looked totally inept.
I'm not going to lie.
And I don't think Tampa was really playing on all cylinders.
Right.
Well,
That's what's scary.
I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. I think the Islanders are in trouble if we play Tampa in that next round.
Again, it's take out the goaltending situation. Yes,
Yep.
Tampa would destroy them, but
yep, I agree. So, gentlemen, we are actually getting up to a half hour here. This was a lot of fun.
And we didn't beat each other up. That's really good.
That's it. Shameless plug time, gentlemen. Go for it. Gary, start us off.
Shameless plug time. Well, as everybody knows, John and I have been doing Sports Talk 1240 now for now 7 years.
Oh my God.
Hard to believe they haven't kicked us off yet.
No, they have not kicked us off yet. We are on, again, generally once a month. We do a lot of Islander talk. We do a lot of other things as well. It's been tough the last couple of months with going into the studio and John not being there with me, but we had definitely a great show last month with County Executive Curran and Donna Rosner from the Blue Line Deli. And I'm going to plug his deli on this show because if you haven't been there as an Islander fan, you've got something wrong with you. But definitely make the trek to 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. But again, Sports Talk 1240 is on Sundays at 8 p.m. on 1240 a.m. and 95.9 FM WGB or www.sportstalk1240.com. And my Twitter address, which I don't go on that often, but I try to, is @GHardingWGBB.
WGBB.
Well, gotta plug the station.
There we go. John, hurry up.
Well, same thing. Gary said our radio show, my
Right.
Twitter. Not that I check Twitter that often either, but at Hockey Blindside is my Twitter handle. But
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for this evening. Don't forget to follow Isles Talk on Twitter, Facebook, and if you're a YouTube video watcher, don't forget to watch, like and subscribe on YouTube. And that's our show for this evening. We'll be back sometime next week or the week after. We're going to talk Islanders playoffs. We'll get into the draft eventually, and then I'm going to do a video segment on Coach Thompson and why I think the Islanders should keep him. So, Islander fans, enjoy the playoffs. John, Gary, thank you once again for coming on, and I'll have you guys on later on.
Anytime you want us again, I'll send you a check.
yeah.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Let's go
Take care.
Islanders.